I am so excited to be joined today by the incredible Claire Ramsbottom, who serves as the Executive Director of Colleges of the Fenway, and she is one of the founding faculty of the ACL Summer Leadership Institute. Claire, thank you so much for your time today. My name is Latta. I serve as the Executive Director of the Tulsa Higher Education Consortium, and I have benefited so much from the Summer Leadership Institute. Let's chat about it. Okay. All right. So I'm going to start with the first question, which is tell me about how the Summer Leadership Institute began for the ACL.
It's a great question. Thank you. Um, Really began because a number of us were looking at staff we had or reflecting on our own experience that most people that come to work in a higher ed consortium have no experience in a higher ed consortium, don't even know they exist before they go to take that job, and how that work is actually different than working at a single institution. What do you know, and how could we help grow and develop our staff, new consortium directors, um, groups that want to start a consortium, sort of what do you need to know in order to help you be effective in that work? And we sat around and said we should develop a program that, will help folks that want to do this work. And that's where it came from. A group of us in ACL divided up and talked about what we thought the curriculum should include. And the first year, we kind of invited staff as guinea pigs. We had an outside assessor come and evaluate what we were doing, as well as do I think a 3 or 6 month follow up with folks that participated to get feedback so that we could really look at the curriculum and develop it around the needs of people doing the work.
Mm. And having been to the Institute, one of the most beautiful aspects of the Institute is like the culture and the community that you create. Was that initially intended whenever you launched, or was that something that you realized blossomed over time as you hosted it?
Hmm. I think some of it was intentional, because we wanted it to be an institute where you came and you put aside your other work and you devoted your time to doing this work. So you
Mhm.
have to cultivate a sense of community and support. And because for most of us, that's what we found in ACL. Again, the network of people that do this specific kind of work in higher ed is not huge. And you need a place to go and talk to other people that are experiencing the challenges of trying to get institutions to work together and the joys to say, I got this done. And I think one of the beauties of ACL is people give their knowledge freely to their colleagues. They really live the idea of collaboration. And we wanted to cultivate that in people coming to the Institute, that you're building, part of what we're doing is helping you build a network.
Mhm.
Um, because as you know, the kind of work you do, nobody else does this kind of work.
Yeah.
And so to know that you have people across the country and in some cases internationally that you can call up and say, trying to figure out how to do this, and that they'll understand the language and the issues you're facing. They may not have the same kind of consortium, but that they'll understand those and give you suggestions about what they were doing. We really wanted to make sure we cultivated that.
Well, you have accomplished it in the most magnificent way. And I know that I still reach out to people that were part of the Leadership Institute that I was part of. And I also have experienced that I don't belong to another association that has like just quite the level of generosity and willingness to share ideas and thought. And then also solidarity and in work that's very nuanced and people oriented, having a community where you can kind of troubleshoot and say like, "Hey, I'm having this challenge. How have you navigated anything like this before?" And usually not identically, but there's usually somebody who's experienced something before and it's like the most like a sense of relief and then a sense of empowerment that somebody else has crossed that bridge in some
Hmm.
capacity before. For folks that are interested in attending the Summer Leadership Institute, what are some things that they could anticipate learning while they're there?
I think they'll learn about strategic planning. I mean, we talk a lot about strategic planning, and I think actually that's become more and more important. And the fluidity of strategic plan has become more and more important. So to understand what it means to develop a strategy and then understand what it means to be flexible as you do that and to keep it simple. Um, I think they'll learn about different governance structures, how different consortia work, different sizes and flavors. And again, I think there's something beautiful about knowing that even if you're a one or two person consortia, that some of your challenges are the same as something like the Claremont consortium that has 100 employees. The challenges are similar. They may be
Mhm.
operating on a different scale. Um, I think the other piece is the importance of communication and really thinking about how you're going to communicate in the communication plan. And then because everybody comes to the work from different settings and backgrounds, we have a section on finance to just, so that you can enter into understanding budgeting wherever you sit in the organization. Um,
Mhm.
in terms of the budget. So we've tried to keep it, what are the core pieces that you need to
Mhm.
know? And then you come with a project to do.
Mhm.
And you really get time to sit down and work on the project and take what you're learning and try and apply it to the project. So here's some different models. What would that mean if you applied this model to your project?
Mhm. I mean, I just remember feeling like a sponge as each of those different facets were explored. But I remember especially, and my project was on strategic planning, so that really resonated with me. But the financial component, I didn't realize all of the things I didn't know what I didn't know. And so being able to see how different consortia navigate things like dues structures and budgets and reporting. And it was just so helpful for me to see other exemplars of more seasoned consortia than mine. Because mine at the time, my consortium was a very young consortium. And so it was nice to see some of the more seasoned. Can you talk a little bit more about the projects and what the goal is for bringing a project to the space to work on?
Hmm. One is we want you to have a tangible outcome. We know that in this work, sometimes creating space, carving out time to do a deep dive on a project can be impossible. You might say, oh, I get an hour here, an hour there between meetings. So to say you're giving yourself the privilege of coming to a space with a project, you have the opportunity to have input from all of the colleagues that are there with you. So to tap into those resources. But part of it, you can, I mean, we've all gone to conferences and workshops where we hear something and it's great, and then we go back home and we're right back into the daily grind. And in this case, we wanted you to be able to take what we're talking about and apply it to something practical that you're
Mhm.
doing. So it's not just a theory, you're going to apply it. And what would it mean if you use these tools on this project? How might it help you advance what you're trying to do?
Yeah, it really is so powerful to have that uninterrupted time to get to just think, plan, ideate with collaborators, get some ideas from experts. I know when I attended the Summer Leadership Institute, the timing was really perfect because I'd been a consortium leader for 3 years. So I had enough experience under my belt that I knew that I needed to strengthen some of my skills in different areas. And our consortium was we inherited a strategic plan from a task force that launched us, but we were launching our own strategic plan. And so I remember that Stieg Landeskog led the session on strategic plan, and it clicked so well for me about making an accessible and usable strategic plan. And it was ultimately my project from the Summer Leadership Institute that was the springboard for our what is our strategic plan now. And I would not have had that had it not been for the Summer Leadership Institute. So even for my strategic leadership, it really sharpened my skills and helped me wrap my mind around how to craft a strategic plan that people will actually use, not one that gets put on a shelf and gathers dust over the years.
So, it's interesting because I will say when we first started the Institute, we didn't have a project. We didn't have
Mhm.
it. That wasn't it. So that is something that developed over time as we refined it, looked at feedback from participants, et cetera, sort of focusing around everybody coming with something they wanted to work on, has really become a cornerstone of the
Mhm.
experience.
Has there been a project that has been like particularly interesting or stuck in your mind as like a
Huh.
really great project that someone has brought to the Leadership Institute, or maybe even in general?
I think the ones that are always interesting to me are ones where people are saying, working on this and I'm trying to shift culture or shift
Mm.
something within our institution. And how do I expand, do that? So those are the ones that stick with me, where the folks are saying, oh, we're doing this, but now I'm trying to shift things in this direction.
Nice.
And then, we've done a couple of occasions where we've invited people to come back to the conference and share what's happening now. So you're at the Summer Leadership Institute. Um, we're at a conference in October. Come and talk to us about what you've done and what changes have been made. Or sometimes it's a year later because change doesn't happen that quickly, right? But
Yeah, that's
to hear
right.
what that impact has been in the work that's gone in there.
If there's anything that if there's somebody out there that's maybe on the fence, like they're like, maybe, I don't know, what would be something that you would say to them, to convince them this is the year to attend the Summer Leadership Institute?
I think if you want space to sort of give yourself that opportunity, that privilege almost to work on something that you've got to get going. And if you're feeling like I need to build my network and my connections in this work, even if and I think the idea of having a project can feel daunting. And I know you can speak to this. You come with one project in mind, and then something happens while you're there, and you think, oh, I should be working on this because this is also a need back at my institution or my consortium, right?
Hmm.
Um, that we're not so strict and, here's the rules you have to, but seeing that moment happen for someone to say that, yeah, that's the way.
Yeah. I mean, that really resonates with me because I remember even in there's initial calls that you participate in before you go to the Institute. And I really had a hard time landing on something. And it really wasn't until my feet were on the ground and it was underway that I was like, okay, yes, this is what I'm going to go with and moving in the direction of strategic plan. I mean, I thought maybe I could work on a piece of the strategic plan, but it was I had to come back and do all of the work that like led to what is our strategic plan today, but it was really at the institute that I got the sense of the vision and how to move forward, and it was really really empowering.
And I will say, I feel like every year I go, even as a faculty member, and learn something from the people that are there, which to me is what makes it exciting. That it's never, oh, this is going to be dry and boring. I've done this before. I think you can go back. We've actually had some people come back a second time and say, with somebody they work with even, and say, I'm going to participate again because they've learned so much by doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, it is such a rich learning environment and taught by faculty that are so knowledgeable. In fact, I don't know that you remember this, but when the Tulsa Consortium was launched, there were a handful of people that I just got on the phone and called, and I called you. You were one of them because I found an article that you had co-written about consortia collaborations and consortia in COVID times. And literally from that first phone call, you've been such a helpful guide. And so it really is such a privilege to get to participate in a space where there are leaders who hold so much expertise, experience. You've learned what works and you've learned what doesn't work so that those mistakes don't have to be replicated and the wins can be celebrated with even more exuberance. So it's incredible. I can't say enough about the Summer Leadership Institute and what you've created. Is there anything else that you would like to share about the Institute?
No, I think that my last one was again how much I learned just by being there with everyone and then just totally enjoy it. I guess the other thing I'd say, and whether it's in Claremont or in Chicago, which have been the two places, it's just an opportunity to experience those places and facilities and see the work that they're doing there and get you out of your own space, right? And again, the people are wonderful. I
That's
mean, the
right.
people that go into the work of supporting collaboration know how to engage with other people.
Yeah, that's right. Well, thank you so much, Claire. This has been incredibly wonderful. And I hope everyone will register for the Summer Leadership Institute. Thank you,
All
Claire.
right.
Have
Thank
a great
you.
day.
You too.
All right. Bye.